If you've used the drug Bayco and have experienced any of these symptoms, your call will be given top priority. Call now. Your health could be at risk and you may be entitled to a cash award. Deadlines are approaching. Call now.
If there was ever a perfect time to own a new Chevrolet, that time is now. Until November 18th, Chevrolet is proud to offer 0% APR financing on every new car and truck we build. From Silverado to Trailblazer, Cavalier to Impala. They're the cars and trucks that America depends on. And you can own one interest-free. It's an offer you don't see every day, and you won't see it much longer. Keep America rolling. See your local Chevy dealer by November 18th.
Watch 11 Alive Sports at 11, November 1st through 11th. The 11th caller to correctly answer the NASCAR trivia question wins 2 tickets to the Napa 500 at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And enter to win the grand prize at 11alive.com. 11 NASCAR nights.
Last week, it was DeKalb County opening the state's newest mall. This week, it's Gwinnett County. 11 Alive's Rick Blaylock shows us how the Discover Mills Mall on Sugarloaf Parkway plans to lure you with more than just a food court.
As the crews work to get the Discover Mills Mall open on Friday, it opens in an uncertain economy. But developers have their fingers crossed, hoping that the unique features of the mall, like a single-story floor plan, will help lure customers.
We have a mixture of stores. We have a mixture of factory outlet stores. We have some discount stores, and we have some full-price retail.
Something else that makes this mall unique, it is the only one in the state of Georgia with, yes, you guessed it, a bowling alley on the inside. It's the company's way of trying to strike a deal to get consumers in the mall. The bowling alley is actually inside Jillian's, which is part restaurant, part sports bar, and has a huge game center for children and adults.
When being able to offer yourself to such a wide range of people, we really feel that will help us when times are now kind of a little economically slow.
Jillian's actually opened for business today. One of the first customers was longtime Duluth resident Suzanne Smith, who told us she plans to come back to the mall because she likes the location.
Everything's close by, which is a big deal when you have children and having to pay babysitters.
And that's music to the ears of the mall's managers, who know that with more than a dozen malls in metro Atlanta, they'll have to fight for every customer they can get. In Gwinnett County, I'm Rick Blaylock, 11 Alive News.
The mall has about 200 merchants, including a Neiman Marcus outlet, a Bass Pro Shop, and a Books A Million store. Doors open Friday morning.
Now, 11 Alive weather with Chris Holcomb.
Well, our temperatures were a little warmer today. Right now it's 63 degrees. I want to give you an update on a couple of new tropical depressions that are out there right now. This is a new tropical depression well out in the Atlantic. We're not concerned about that affecting land at all. But right down here in parts of the Caribbean, we see another tropical depression that has just formed. It is near Nicaragua right now. If it becomes a tropical storm, it will be named Lorenzo. And it looks like the forecast track has it kind of hanging out over land and then possibly becoming a tropical storm. We'll watch this very closely because if it gets in the Gulf, it could send a little more moisture our way. But for tonight, no worry about moisture at all. Clear and chilly, lows near 40 degrees. Tomorrow, we'll see sunny skies, just a little bit warmer with highs up to 68. Now your 7-day forecast shows mostly sunny skies Wednesday and the 70-degree mark will hold in the lower 70s for the rest of the week. We'll tell you more about that possible moisture moving our way coming up on 11 Alive News at 6, which starts right now.
Live from WXIA TV in Atlanta, you're watching 11 Alive News at 6.
New traces of the deadly anthrax disease turn up in 3 more government buildings in the nation's capital. And the cases fuel new fears for workers at an Atlanta mail facility who handle undeliverable packages from Washington, D.C.
Good evening, I'm Wes Sargent.
And I'm Brenda Wood. Just moments ago, the FBI and Attorney General John Ashcroft issued a new terrorism warning, urging Americans and police to be on the highest alert for new attacks. The agency has received information, it says, about possible attacks here in the U.S. and abroad sometime this week.
The administration views this information as credible, but unfortunately it does not contain specific information as to the type of attack or specific targets. Consequently, a terrorist threat advisory update has been issued to 18,000 law enforcement agencies across the country.
This is the second FBI alert this month. There'll, of course, be more on NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw. The last alert issued was on October 11th. Well, workers at one Atlanta mail facility are on a high alert tonight. The Mail Recovery Center is one of 3 facilities nationwide that opens undeliverable mail. The Atlanta Center handles mail from the hotbed of the anthrax scare, Washington, D.C. 11 Live's Kevin Rosen joins us now from the Atlanta Postal Workers Union headquarters, where concerns there are running high. Kevin?
Well, Brenda, the mail that comes into those 3 facilities comes in all shapes and sizes. It comes there because for some reason it has no address, or for some reason it cannot be delivered. And all of it has to be opened by hand to see what is inside. And when it comes to concerns about anthrax, it is at the top of the list for Atlanta's Postal Workers Union. All questions about Atlanta's Mail Recovery Center were referred to Washington. 80 employees work here, and their job is to open mail that is undeliverable. It comes in here from 20 states, including Washington, D.C., the hub of the anthrax concerns. Some refer to it as the dead letter office.
And they have to open that mail to look at it, to try to get this information before they can send it on. And mail that it cannot be sent on, it is put in a tub as undeliverable.
The post office has been rushing to supply all their facilities with gloves and masks for workers. The mail processing centers were a top priority. During the height of the anthrax scare last week, this center was closed for 2 days until those masks and gloves arrived. 2 postal inspectors were assigned here to specifically handle the undeliverable mail from the Brentwood facility in D.C.
And every day that the fear is heightened, the people at the recovery units fear is a lot higher because they physically handle the mail.
In most other postal facilities, machines handle the bulk of the work, but it is all by hand at the recovery centers, and they are the only postal facilities where all the mail has to be opened by hand.
The people seem to feel a little bit better because they are working with gloves and masks, even though the gloves and masks are not foolproof.
The other 2 facilities, recovery centers that the post office runs, are in St. Paul, Minnesota, and in California. Workers at Atlanta's recovery center were very reluctant to talk about their fears on camera, but privately they told me they were concerned about their jobs, but they were also as comfortable as possible in what the post office was doing to protect them. And one other thing, the FBI said today they are up to date on all the tests of powders around the Atlanta area, and so far all those tests are back, and none of them have proved to be anthrax. Live at the Atlanta Postal Workers Union headquarters, I'm Kevin Rosen for 11 Live News.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Workers at a bulk mail processing center in South Fulton County are back to work this evening. Their building was shut down and decontaminated overnight due to an anthrax scare on Sunday. The facility closed after employees found a small amount of white powder on the floor. The incident has some postal workers extremely worried.
I don't think they're doing a good job as far as actually educating people as far as what that substance basically was, and I'm not really sure about it myself as far as everybody's uneasy about it.
To put employees at ease, they were given masks and latex gloves. The Postal Service says it's not unusual for customers to use powder on large stacks of mail in order to keep them from sticking together. Test results are expected at the end of the week. In the nation's capital, officials report anthrax has spread to still more government buildings. Tests confirm anthrax spores inside the mailroom of the main Supreme Court building. The threat forced the Supreme Court justices to hold hearings in an alternative courtroom today for the first time in more than 60 years. Evidence of fresh anthrax contamination also turned up at the main State Department building and at least 2 other government buildings today. Nationwide, there have been 14 confirmed cases of anthrax within the last 3 weeks, including 3 deaths from inhalation anthrax.
Congressional leaders met on Capitol Hill today to debate how to pay for the upgrades for airport security. Leaders agreed something needs to be done to beef up security, but lawmakers are at odds on whether airport screeners should be federally employed or privatized. The rift is the main reason Congress has not passed an aviation security bill. The Senate voted unanimously to pass a bill supporting aviation security nearly 3 weeks ago. The House is expected to vote on that issue on Wednesday. Atlanta-based Delta Airlines announced plans to test a new security system for its aircraft this afternoon. The comprehensive system uses an enhanced transponder system and video camera surveillance in the plane's cabin. Delta is the first airline in the country to test such a state-of-the-art system. 11 Alive's Jay Watson joins us live from Hartsfield Airport with the latest. Jay?
Wes, something else important to report, Delta's entire fleet, including these planes you see behind us, have been outfitted with cockpit door security bars. We can tell you that those bars are made of steel, but for security issues, we can't report anything else to you about them. Now, 2 prototype measures are being tested on one Delta plane, the MD-88. One change is to allow pilots to simply hit a button on the transponder, the device that lets radar track the plane, so it can't be switched off in case of a hijacking. The other security measure is called the Cabin Awareness System.
The cockpit has been modified with a monitor, and the system will work something like a closed-circuit television system. For security reasons, at this point, we can't disclose the number of cameras on board or their location.
But basically, the pilots would be able to see what was going on inside the plane the entire time. Now, the transponder and the closed-circuit TV measures will be tried out on the MD-88 for 6 to 12 weeks. If successful, Delta will try to go about outfitting all 574 of their planes at a cost of $33,000 a plane. They have asked the federal government to help pay for those changes. Live at Delta Tech Ops Center, Jay Watson, 11 Alive News.
Thank you, Jay.
Governor Roy Barnes attended a special hearing on terrorism today in New York. He appeared before the Terrorism and Homeland Security Subcommittee, which is working right now on plans to try to prevent future terrorist attacks. As 11 Alive's Dennis O'Hare reports, the governor asked the feds for more cooperation and to send more money to the states.
This is because of
Governor Roy Barnes and other governors, including Florida's Jeb Bush, told the subcommittee states need more federal dollars as they respond to terror. Barnes reminded the committee its members got a first-hand look last week when they visited the CDC.
They're swamped and they need some relief. You've got to give some relief, and you've got to give them some additional personnel because they're going to become more and more important.
But the CDC is just one place where Barnes says the state is helping the feds. Workers at this bulk mail facility in South Fulton County are now wearing gloves and dust masks after a couple of workers found what they thought was a suspicious substance over the weekend. Georgia is one of the first states in the country to have a National Guard unit specially trained to check out calls like this. And Governor Barnes wants more federal money for that National Guard unit.
The unit has a lot of technical capabilities that local law enforcement agencies simply don't possess, such as the ability to detect substances like anthrax. They were the first that we went to, and they have been very helpful to us.
Georgia's governor may find some ears willing to listen, since the subcommittee chair is a fellow Georgian.
The men and women who comprise the emergency responders of New York City have raised the bar for every political community in America.
Dennis O'Hare, 11 Alive News.
New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani also appeared before that same committee and said Americans are willing to devote more effort and more money to the war against terror.
Crews resumed recovery efforts at the World Trade Center site today. The around-the-clock recovery at Ground Zero stopped on Sunday for a memorial service attended by more than 9,000 people. This is the second time since the September 11th attacks that work has stopped at Ground Zero. Crews are struggling to remove more than 500,000 tons of steel and concrete and searching for more than 4,000 people still missing in the rubble. An Atlanta man says the attack on the Pentagon changed his life forever. Don Stevens, heading the Red Cross rescue efforts at the Pentagon site, he says seeing the disaster firsthand made him realize how fortunate he is and how easy it is to take things for granted. Stevens says the attack has changed the Red Cross as well. Its relief efforts have typically been focused on hurricanes, tornadoes, and earthquakes.
Because we're going to have to be prepared not just for traditional. That's what I call the changing faces of disaster, like we've never known or seen before.
Red Cross workers who were stationed at the World Trade Center and the Pentagon are receiving psychological counseling when they return home from their assignments.
Turning our attention to the weather now, Chris Holcomb in for Paul Osmond, taking some time off. Looks like we're headed for a warming trend, huh?
Yeah, these temperatures out there right now are a little cool, but they're warmer than they were over the weekend. Right now, we're at 60 degrees. Last hour, we were at 63, so we're beginning to drop now that the sun has set about 20 minutes ago. 57 in Rome, 57 in Athens. These temperatures are about 7 degrees warmer than they were at this time yesterday. And whereas last week we were talking about those temperatures dropping a few degrees each day, now temperatures are going to be rising a few degrees each day. 9 o'clock down to about 53 degrees, 40 in the morning, and then at noon up to 62 degrees. We may even make the 70s this week. We'll tell you more about that coming up.
All right, we'll see you later. Still to come here on 11 Alive News at 6, the Atlanta Civic Center has a new name.
And the evening rush hour may be a bit slower than usual tonight. You're looking live at I-85 in Midtown Atlanta. Coming up, we'll tell you how that extra hour you gained this weekend is adding extra time to your commute. Plus this. Rick?
That's right. Remember when gas was about $1.50 a gallon? Boy, what a difference 2 months makes. I'm Rick Blaylock on the Pump Patrol. Just how low will the gas prices go? Stay